It's not over
One. I thought I'd try the microphone. Well, I've known this young man for 47 years. That's when we both started at St Bede's in 1962. I haven't known him as long as Peter, though. Peter's known him since 1899. My first impressions were not good. Paul was the first City fan I had ever met. Coming from North Manchester, where we all supported United, I had assumed City fans didn't exist. And also, much to Paul's surprise, I have told him how plummy voiced I thought he was. Manchester is divided a little like England, that the south is full of southern softies. Paul at that age was quiet and studious. He remembers me being the pushy one. But when we entered the sixth form, Paul came out of his shell to be the social animal he is today. Paul had long been known as the school's horse racing expert, and around that time he was asked to give a talk on the subject. Tony Wilcox, somewhere here, also knew something of horse racing. I was ignorant, but I was intrigued. I remember playing football after school. Bill Beckley, also here, was one of the players. It was the day of the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Paul and Tony both fancied a horse called the Laird. Didn't win, but I was still intrigued. I also recall Paul and Tony discussing the 1968 2000 Guineas. Paul fancied Survivor. Tony fancied Patingo. They finished first and second. I was intrigued even more. And then a great day in May 1968. In the morning, we sat General Studies O-Level. In the afternoon, we sneaked up to a friend's house to watch Survivor win the Derby. And in the evening, Manchester United won their first European Cup. Let's hope City can win one before we're all too old to care. The following year's derby coincided with my Greek A-level. I came out of the exam hall and Paul met me with the news that the winner was Blakeney, his tip again. By this time I was getting hooked, and I was well and truly snared in August 1969. Paul and I went to York races for 3 days. And come Tuesday, it will be exactly 40 years ago. We were both just 17. We had little money and didn't fancy paying for accommodation. The weather was nice, so we decided to sleep under the stars. Little did we realise how cold the night can be, even in a sunny August. We didn't sleep a wink. The next night we found a bed and breakfast. And so to Reading University. It had not been the first choice for either of us, and there was a degree of coincidence that we both ended up there. I was doing classics, and Paul bizarrely switched to Latin and Greek after starting up in social studies. But all that was irrelevant. Our horse racing studies moved up a pace, and we spent every afternoon in the bookies. Our knowledge grew as we bounced ideas off each other. And when the final year loomed, we knew horse racing was the only career for us. Journalism, that is. Because we could both write, but we've never sat on a racehorse. We drew up a list of every racing journalist we could think of and divided them up. I wrote to half, Paul to the other half. We had many interesting replies, and I was invited to Timeform in Halifax for an interview. They said they were going to give me a test, and my eyes lit up. After 3 years studying horse racing at Reading University, I knew this was my chance for a double first with honours. And so it proved. After the test, I told the managing director I had a friend who knew even more than me. Send him along then. Paul, of course, sailed through the test. So in September 1972, we both started at Timeform. I left 2 years later and eventually got a job at the Sporting Chronicle, handily based at Withy Grove in what is now the Printworks, for those of you who might know that. And when another job came along in 1978, I said to the editor, Paul was just the man, and our careers were reunited. And that 4-year gap was the only hiatus in 47 years. When the Chronicle closed in 1983, we both went to the Sporting Life's new weekly, along with Martin Smethurst, Dick Hunter, Adrian Cupp. Me as deputy editor, I had now become more interested in newspaper production, and Paul as racing and now a football expert. 2 years on, and we both moved to the Racing Post. And for the last 23 years, nothing much has changed on the work front. It now remains to be seen who retires first. We both have similar feelings on the subject, and no one should be surprised if we both retire on the same day. And here's hoping that day comes along very soon. Meanwhile, I wish Paul and Sheila many more happy years together. I'm sure that's a very safe bet. Thank you.